Let's go on to the Seattle Seahawks. And speaking of potentially looking in a new direction in quarterback, the conversation we're going to focus around here is, should Seattle look to replace Geno Smith? He's entering the second year of the 3-year deal that he signed following the breakout 2022 campaign. Just recently, his $12.7 million base salary was guaranteed, but Seattle can still trade that salary along with Geno, and that would be gone. It would be off their books. However, March 18th, $9.6 million signing bonus that cannot be traded comes into effect. So you're looking at only a few weeks here where the Seahawks would really be looking to trade Geno before $22.3 million is guaranteed for next year. I guess we could start with that. If you were Seattle, would you even be looking to trade Geno to begin with?
It's going to be a tough offseason for the Seahawks because they've given no indication that they want to rebuild, but there's a question mark at the quarterback position, and there's a lot of mixing up that this roster needs to do. The thing about Geno Smith that makes him really hard to move off of is it's very likely that you will get solid quarterback production at an affordable price. And the only ways you can really get that are drafting a rookie or getting lucky and having a guy like Geno sign a fair deal for you. Right? Because if they try and go into free agency, Kirk Cousins isn't taking a cupcake deal. And otherwise, there's just nobody, I think, as affordable and as reliable as Geno Smith. Mm-hmm. And trading up for a rookie, there's certainly no guarantee you're going to get effective production out of that. So I think you have to sort of stick with Geno Smith, and that's the benefit of the contract they signed with him, because they can keep him sort of as long as they want without a lot of difficulty. But I don't think there's a feasible way to move off of him.
Yeah, and you know what? I want to make it clear. I like Geno. I don't think he's going to be the guy to take Seattle on a deep playoff run. We knew, even when he was playing great football just 2 years ago, that first half of the season where his numbers were amazing, there was a lot of luck involved in that. If you go back and look deep in the numbers, there were a lot of passes he was throwing that probably shouldn't have been completed, could have been intercepted. And we talked about that on our show. Second half of that season, Geno dipped a little bit and you saw him blown out by the 49ers in the playoffs. But even last year, completion percentage down, 10 less touchdowns, lower passer rating. It was not the same Geno Smith. And that's not to say there aren't a lot of other issues with the Seahawks. But I'm just not, if I were a Seahawks fan, I'm not confident in Geno. Despite he did have 7 game win, I think it was 7 drives, go ahead touchdown passes in overtime or at the end of the game. The most ever in a single season for the NFL. But they still missed the playoffs. So, I don't think they're going to trade him. I'd be very, very surprised if they did. But I would not be surprised if they went with the quarterback 16th overall. And someone who could be there, they have a new head coach, Mike Macdonald. You know who their new offensive coordinator is?
Who, Paul?
He's the Washington Huskies assistant head coach / offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach, Ryan Grubb. Michael Penix is going to be there at 16. Would it be stunning to me if, maybe not 16, but even in the second round, potentially Michael Penix could be there? I think you're going to see Seattle take a quarterback on day 1 or early day 2. And that's going to be, for any new coaching regime, a lot of times they want a new guy. Seattle's in the perfect place to usher in a new quarterback. I think that's going to happen this offseason. And for a year, have him sit behind Geno. I think Geno's a great guy to have guide a rookie. I'd be thrilled with that if I were a Seahawk fan.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to do, then you can make this year a sort of transitional year, right? You'll cut Jamal Adams. You'll cut Tyler Lockett. You sort of get some big contracts off the books, and you get ready to move on. On the other hand, though, here's something Seahawks fans might be thinking. We're going to be at 16. Geno's pretty good. We were competitive last year. And boy, Charles Cross and Abe Lucas, what a drop-off after their first seasons, right? There were some big disappointments for them for different reasons. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Seahawks, who always sort of, to me, it seems like they want to compete more than maybe they should, but this team's always looking to win. I would not be surprised to see them double down, take an offensive tackle, and try and figure out how to make this team a playoff contender this year.
Yeah, that was something I actually always admired about Seattle, even though I thought sometimes it could come back to bite them. I mean, we've seen them in the past take these huge swings, and you go, Man, were they really just one player away from being able to compete this year? Like, probably not. Like,
Yeah,
that's a
you
lot
think
to
about
give
like
up.
that Leonard Williams trade in the middle of the season.
Oh, I remember we talked about that, and I think you said like I like Leonard Williams a lot, but this Seahawks team is not ready to win a Super Bowl, and this was a Super Bowl kind of a trade. It's admirable that they always try and go to win. I 100% think that, but at some point you have to look at what works in the NFL, and most of the time it's slowly build. Unfortunately, it's slowly building up. It's not like the NBA where you could just go and get two free agents and you're ready to win immediately.
Yeah, so we'll see what they do. There's definitely a few different options, but like a lot of teams that are picking outside of the top 3 or 4, it's all going to come down to what you think about the quarterbacks and what your vision of the team is. And
Yeah.
John Schneider, I never know what that guy's going to do, but Seahawks fans can tell you if it involves a first round pick, it's probably going to not work out.
One time, so Ziggy and I used to announce Notre Dame games in the student center, or not the student center, but
In
up
the
in the
stadium,
booth.
at the stadium, in a
At the
press
stadium.
box.
Yeah, at the stadium. We were up in the press box. It was really cool. And one thing that was always exciting about it is that at ND you do have like scouts and general managers come to some of these games at least when it's a big game. A lot of times you would see. I met Rick Spielman one time at Louisville. I kept trying to remember some other guys who were there Rick Spielman was super nice to me, actually. He came up and asked us about who was announcing, what we wanted to do with our lives. Very nice guy. But John Schneider was actually at Notre Dame one day. And I remember looking down in the press box, and like 5 guys down is John Schneider. I was like, oh, probably shouldn't disrupt
No,
them
they're
during
at
work.
work. But
Yeah, it's crazy. When you're up in the box, it is dead quiet. We were there having a good time, but a lot like other guys are at work. Scouts are working extremely hard, but it was kind of cool. John Schneider was there, and you could tell he was like the guy in the room. A lot of people went up to him. I was not one of them, but Seahawks, yeah, they got a good one. Okay, we're gonna move on to the Arizona Cardinals. Just a reminder to if you're enjoying this video, leave a comment, let us know what you think so far. Again, subscribing to the channel is huge for us as we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the draft. We appreciate everyone who's been listening along the way. We have one more team left of these NFC West teams before a quick conversation on Justin Fields, which we may or may not have Ziggy's full attention for, as he is a little skeptical about the importance.
I've got things to say about Justin Fields.
Okay. All right. That's good. I'm happy we're doing this, Ziggy, because as I said off the top, we were debating whether or not we want to continue the division breakdowns, but I'm thoroughly enjoying this conversation right now. Maybe it's just the Ziggy effect, though.